Creepy stories. When I was in the desert Southwest, my companion Dave George and I were living in Gallup, New Mexico. I had just transferred from Fort Wingate, which is about 7 miles east of Gallup, and two sister missionaries had just been moved into that area. We get a phone call. Dave was the district leader, the leader of the missionary effort in that particular district. The sisters were besieged. Something was pounding on the trailer that they were living in on a lot behind the LDS chapel, a former seminary, LDS seminary building. And to the, I would say south of that is a Catholic church, and to the south of that was Rehoboth Baptist Church. And then there was nothing but a gully, and then the miniature village of Fort Wingate. So it was kind of isolated. The sisters were there. We got a phone call, like I said, and Dave says, "We'll be right there." So we jump into a pair of pants and start to put on our white shirts and ties as we're driving down the Route 66, heading east as fast as we can legally go to try and help out the sister missionaries, Sister Wood and Sister Herring. We turned from Route 66 onto Wingate Road, and we're driving up the hill. We're feeling kind of, I don't know, odd about the whole thing, like something really was desperately wrong. As we passed the Wingate trading post, we had to cross a small wooden bridge, sturdy but wooden. And as soon as we got to the wooden bridge, Dave was driving, I was in the passenger, and our Ford Ranger felt a jolt, and Dave felt like somebody had almost blocked him, put their hands on his chest, and he almost lost control of the truck. As we came into the lot, I said, "Dave, drop me off here." And I ran down the alley between the Catholic church and the LDS building, thinking if there was anybody there, they'd run down the alley. The cowards that they were, they'd run away from the truck's approaching headlights coming from the other side. And as I came around the corner to the trailer, there were three guys standing outside, and I'm thinking, I'm going to kill somebody. And as it turned out, it was the first counselor in the branch presidency and the branch clerk and somebody else. I can't remember what his position was in the church, but they had all assembled, and they were discussing that the sisters were being hysterical, hysterical women, girls. And that really made me, I was offended. I really was. We talked to the sisters. Sisters were terrified, tears in their eyes. They were crying. They were obviously something had really happened. And Dave, he talked to them. His job was to counsel, so he sat with them and talked for a few minutes. And then all of the men gathered outside, and it was high time for somebody to step up and have some testicles. So the brethren, the branch counselor and secretary and whatever, said it again. They're just being hysterical. And I said, no, perhaps you guys aren't as spiritual as you ought to be, because I can feel it, and I know Dave can feel it, and I know the sisters have been humiliated by it. There's something evil going on here. And we decided that we would have a prayer circle on behalf of the sisters and to bless the property, from further evil. And as soon as we began uttering our prayer one by one, this howling began. And there were two. There was one on a hill up behind the trailer off the church property, and the other one was coming from underneath the bridge. And it wasn't like a wolf or a coyote or anything recognizable like that, but it was mimicking a wolf, trying to anyway. And this companionship, this pair, were calling to each other, howling, one howling, then the other howling, and then the other howling back and forth. All during the five of us offering up these prayers on behalf of the sisters and to bless the property and calling upon angels to intercede. And at the end of my prayer, I said, "And in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to be silent." And it was. We got the sisters to go to the branch counselor's house with him and his wife and to spend the night there. So we locked the trailer up, and they did so. The next day, Dave and I came back with a Navajo native, also a returned missionary, former missionary from the church, Ray Tracy, famous Native American actor, and Ray's grandma was a tracker. So we went into the ditch, the gully behind the trailer, and found these tracks that were the size of a human hand, but they were the sort of shape of a wolf. But there were no hind legs, no front leg, back leg kind of paw prints. They were just like footprints, and they were about 4 to 6 feet apart. So that wasn't a wolf. And we followed the tracks. We backtracked up to the hill behind the trailer, and that's where we lost them. But then we realized that the tracks were actually, we backtracked, and the tracks were actually going down the gully behind the house, behind the trailer, and over toward the bridge. So, yeah, it was an interesting series of events. And later we discussed that this was, no odd experience. This was a deliberate attack. And my first real experience with skinwalkers.